CTBK is more than just a full-service accounting firm. They are one team with an innovative approach to accounting and rise to each new challenge with collaborative problem-solving skills. CTBK goes above and beyond by lending helping hands in the Buffalo and Niagara community through volunteer work and donations, and is partnered up with Victory Sports for 2020 and 2021 to keep kids in the community active. The professionals at CTBK are determined to help individuals and businesses succeed. Whether a large corporation, a small business, or somewhere in between, call CTBK at 716-630-2400. Again, 716-630-2400, and see what CTBK's one-team approach can do for you.
Welcome to another edition of Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and Business Consultants. I am Tim Graham of The Athletic. We do not have Jonah Bronstein for this segment, but we have a true F from TGAF, one of the greatest Fs in my book, Jeff Darlington of ESPN, and formerly of NFL Network. You may remember his work from NFL.com, from the Miami Herald. Jeff, thanks for doing this.
What's an F?
Tim Graham and Friends, TGAF.
Oh, I'm a friend. Oh, nice.
You are
That's
a friend.
Lovely. It's better than being a fucker.
Right.
Wasn't sure what it was.
We do not have a filter on this show, but it's refreshing to see you on camera with your setup and everything. Your Emmy Award right behind you, F-bomb right out of the gate.
Yeah, is that allowed? I don't know what venue we're on, you know?
Well,
you never know.
It's YouTube. We are on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, wherever amateurish podcasts are sold, you can pick up Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK. I legally must mention that after every Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK again. So, Jeff, you were at the Bills-Dolphins game on Sunday. You're going to be at Chargers-Chiefs this weekend.
Yeah.
But before we get into your thoughts on football, I have to say that your background is my favorite background of anybody certainly of anybody in sports. And I was wondering if we could maybe take a tour through your background.
Sure. Yes.
First off, the Nintendo. And all right, so clearly you don't play the Nintendo. It's there for display purposes only. But can you pull it down? Is it still operate?
Yeah, I mean, that's my OG Nintendo. Like, this is the one I grew up playing as a kid.
Right.
You know, like it's still fully operational. I still have the cord somewhere too, but yeah, the whole deal. So we've got the games are not like, you know, what's funny about the games? Like everybody always asks me what games I have, and the problem with
that's Zelda on top, I can tell.
But it's Adventures of Link. It's Zelda 2.
Oh boy.
And so this is my point. I find as I think most people that grew up in the generation of Nintendo is that like you don't, as a 39-year-old man, like I don't still have the games that I played because you either leave them at friends' houses, like what you know, you trade them, you lend them out. So like I'm not necessarily proud of my stack.
These are the ones that weren't stolen from you, the ones nobody wanted.
So the Adventures of Link, you know, whatever. The OG Zelda is definitely much better. This is actually, I mean, Super Mario Bros. 3 is
classic,
like, all-time classic. Better than Super Mario 1. And Super Mario 1 is better than 2. 2 kind of sucked, right? Didn't Super Mario Bros. 2 kind of suck? I think it was great.
I don't remember it, so it must have.
Jordan vs. Bird, not exactly like the best sports game, but not bad. Metroid, look at this thing got some damage. Like that thing got some frustration.
Metroid was a good game. Did you buy that used? It looked like it had a price tag.
$15. Yeah, $15. Which was, I mean, that's about half off. Wasn't a game about $30 or so?
They were, $30, $40.
I bought my kid an Apple Pencil the other day. It was $80, you know, for this drawing app that, you know, I felt like I could justify it from an education standpoint. I remember as a kid, $30 to buy a video game was a significant amount of money to try to convince your parents to spend on you.
I remember one year, I'm going to guess it was 1994, the new NBA Jam came out. Sega, and it was $50, and that was like a threshold.
That's a big
I remember showing up at the the local video store, which is where you used to buy your video games, where you get your VHS tapes, and they had NBA Jam, and I picked it up. I didn't even look at the price, and it came with tax. I think it was $55 or something.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's a lot now. I'm not trying to like belittle.
You're right.
I'm just saying
that's what they cost now. You're right.
Technology is such that it's like an Apple Pencil is like $80. But also, I do find, I remember one time I was trying to get Super Mario Brothers 3 when it first came out, and I was like really young, and I got the yellow pages out, and I called every single toy store to see if they had it, and nobody had it. What I didn't realize at that age is that there's actually like a release date. It wasn't like these toy stores like acquired these on the black market and then sold them. But I didn't get that as a kid. So, but it's a big deal. Jordan versus Bird. Yeah, anyway, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers 1, Commando, Spy Hunter. Wasn't a big fan of these two necessarily, but they make
big Spy Hunter guy here.
Were you? Oh, okay.
I love Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter they made
I was more
PlayStation.
I was more Contra in that.
Russian Attack. Of course, Tecmo Bowl was the game that I rented from the local, again, the video store. I rented a console, Nintendo, and had Tecmo Bowl, and Bo Jackson is what got me back into video games, right?
So not only that, the reason that I have this book here is because of Tecmo Bowl. Because of Tecmo Bowl, you could argue that Tecmo Bowl is the reason that I am a sports reporter. That Tecmo Bowl led me to become a huge Bo Jackson fan, massive, to where I like rooted for the Raiders, to where then I got this book for Christmas. I was in the 4th grade and I read this, and I fell in love with Dick Schaap and the idea of being the person who told the stories about these players. So yeah, Tecmo Bowl led to Bo Knows Bo, which led to the bullshit that I now call a job.
The chain reaction. I think Bo Jackson was very influential for me. Dwight Gooden just a little bit before that. But Bo Jackson was a very, in fact, we'll get into, we'll talk about that. One of my prized possessions, I was going to ask you about your collectibles there. You have a box of football cards there.
This is,
do you collect cards and stuff?
I did. I mean, this literally was all stuff when I was trying to create a background. I just went through the boxes that my mom, dropped
That's
off.
refreshing to see football cards, because these are the things that I think cards at its base was what formulated my
I think
my vocabulary when it came to sports too, reading the backs of the cards
100%,
because you couldn't just flip on the TV and catch a 24-hour sports, and I would just get mesmerized by these cards. I would mess them up just to sort them out again.
But you also, that's a great point. We didn't have Wikipedia. The back of the baseball card was our Wikipedia. So you would actually learn where the guy was from, his age, his career stats. Like it's a great point.
There'd be a fun fact, about him.
Fact. Those were always fun. Piece of stale gum. It was always awesome too. But like these were not my so anyway, I was going through a box and basically pulled out just any kind of old school memorabilia that I had. And this is kind of what I came up with, but I threw these boxes because they're more colorful, like the Topps early 90s football were a little, I think my most prized possession from cards is I have the complete set of 1986 football, which was Jerry Rice's rookie year. And I think that card is worth a lot, but probably not as much because it's beat to shit.
Also, I know that set, also Bernie Kosar's rookie year.
Bernie Kosar, I think.
So make sure you get that in a hard plastic case.
Jerry Rice is the only one. I got like one of the cases with the screws.
Right.
But after I already screwed it up, so it was pointless. But as a kid,
same here. I got into the whole graded card craze during the pandemic. I sent in my Jerry Rice card, and the guy at Beckett who was doing the grading did me a favor and sent it back.
Did he? And said no dice.
He said we're not going to charge you. You don't want to grade this one.
So that's a bummer. So like I was looking recently when some of those cards were selling for millions of dollars. Not that I expect. I was just kind of curious what cards were going for, and the Jerry Rice one, like mint condition, is like I think like 150 grand, but it's amazing how fast it depreciates if it's even like slightest little touch, right? Like any little error, you're kind of sunk, right?
Absolutely. I tried to get, I'm going after a set of cards in which I had a couple of key cards come back as 9s. And so I told myself, it was great. But there are some other critical cards in this set that came back as 6. So I told myself I want a set of 8s. And I'm on eBay constantly. And to get to I had to give up. I probably tried it for about 2 or 3 weeks. I started picking up some of the scrubs.
Oh, that's cool.
At like $30 here or there. But the really good players in that set, I can't do it.
Too much.
It's too expensive.
You know what's interesting? By the way, we don't have to go too far down this rabbit hole, but my son.
Maybe we do. I enjoy this.
Yeah, my son is 6, and he's kind of getting into a little bit, but his buddy is 8, and he's really into cards. And we actually have a place literally right down the street from me that opened up storefront, and it's a card shop. It's a baseball card shop or sports cards. And I went in thinking like, how the hell is this place gonna like? It was exactly like it was from our childhood. I don't know what happened. And I went in to buy, because this kid loves cards. I bought him a pack of cards. Now, cards, by the way, a pack of like 2021 football cards was like $10, which I don't remember them being that expensive. But it was exactly like it was growing up. And it's really fascinating to me that I think we went about 20 years where these stores didn't exist. And now all of a sudden it's almost like they're coming back in their exact vintage form, which is very cool. And also kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I have a couple of places I go to. In fact, I was just stopped in one the other day, yesterday, in fact, and picked something up.
Yeah, it was really bringing back a lot of memories, though.
That's the thing. I get in there. I know what this stuff's worth, which is dangerous, and I see a deal, and I can't pass it up. And I had a little disposable income, and I end up coming home with something that I can't tell my wife about.
It's like you're just kind of grasping for that childhood moment. I have probably, so I collected Bo Jackson cards, baseball and football, and I think I have probably 40 or 50 in the sleeves of all Bo Jackson. And I still, when I was in the store the other day, I found myself literally having this childlike moment where I started flipping through the hardcover cards looking for Bo Jacksons. Just
one
totally,
you don't have, right?
I don't even know. It was just this instinctive, look for Bo Jackson, see if they have any. It was very fun and nostalgic for sure.
Well, the thing I was going to mention when you brought up Bo Jackson as being so important to your career is that I've never had a Bo Jackson anything signed Bo Jackson. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big autograph collector. I was as a kid, obviously, but I have signed baseballs, and I went looking for something Bo Jackson and found a 1987 team signed Royals baseball. So it's got George Brett on it. And Brett Saberhagen and Dan Quisenberry and Frank White. And it's got a lot of people on it, plus Bo Jackson, Kevin Seitzer. You can't forget Kevin Seitzer.
So Bo is on there.
$50. I had to buy it.
Bo is on there, though? You got the Bo Jackson?
Steve Balboni, all the greats.
That's great. Yeah. The only time I really remember getting I have 2 autograph stories. One was Jim Leyritz, the Yankees player. And I actually remember him being so kind. I think he got in some trouble down here or something. I don't know. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, I just remember going up to him one day and being like, you were so gracious with the autograph. The other one was, this is actually classic, Dr. J. I was at the Spectrum back where the 76ers played. I went to a game. My buddy growing up took me to the game, and Dr. J was at the restaurant downstairs we were eating at, and we saw him go into the bathroom. And I cannot believe I'm admitting this right now, but me and my buddy waited outside the shitter for him. And he was in there. I'm not talking outside the bathroom. I'm talking outside the outside the stall, waiting for him to come out. Think about that. Now in retrospect, now I see these people getting autographs and I'm like, God, these assholes. I was the kid waiting outside the stall for him to come out, Dr. J, to come out and sign my autograph with his dirty, dirty hands.
Well, stories beget stories. So here we go. We have rabbit holes, and let's just keep going. Because I have a restroom story, but it wasn't me. I was actually in the restroom. I was actually finishing up. I'm washing my hands at the New York in Las Vegas. This would have been probably 1998, 1999. And as I'm turning to walk out the door, back out into the casino, a flood of humanity comes in and I cannot leave. And it's Michael Jackson. And he's got bodyguards, like, however many bodyguards, but then fans just coming in there. I don't know what they think they're going to do. But these are adults. You were a kid at the time, but these are, because it's a casino, young kid. You have to be a certain age to be on the casino floor. These are adults and they just can't help themselves. And they come flooding in. And I had to wait for probably, and keeping in mind, even though it is a casino, it's not like, because the restrooms are so vast, but like 15 people come walking in.
What was it one or two?
I didn't. I was so aghast that I needed to get out of there that I didn't study. My journalistic instincts failed me. I did not take.
What is that human instinct, that weird human nature that makes you see a massive? I'm not talking about me getting the Dr. J thing. That's like a little kid. Like I actually excuse myself for that. But like that, a human would go want to enter a bathroom with a celebrity like that. I don't, that's a very interesting human instinct.
It is. And there's also, you think of, cosplay, people who dress up like Star Wars characters on opening night, or they do these things, but all right. So you just did that. And I do too. How big of a stretch is it than what we see on Sunday afternoons? People dress up like the players.
Oh my God.
They put on the face paint. They put on all the stuff.
Sure.
Right.
If you were an alien and you came down from out, we do these, like when us as humans do these like alien movies, we have these like weird chants and these people at these or these aliens at these weird mass. It is exactly what we do every Sunday. Like if you hovered over Earth and saw these chants, like Florida State, like the CHOP, like 80,000 people in this building doing this, like that is some weird shit, man. Like we're
and if you're the alien,
society.
You're thinking, are these a peaceful people? And you come and you hover,
and the answer is no.
And it's like, these people are getting ready to go to war. We have to attack.
Yes, for sure. And they're all centered. By the way, we watched Gladiator like it's some crazy thing. Like we watched that movie like, oh God, these people were crazy back then. Like it's exactly the same thing. Minus the death part, but
to some
splitting
degree.
hairs.
To some degree. Last autograph story, because I feel like I need to confess. And it's a cool story, especially with the Muhammad Ali documentary that's been on PBS the past few nights.
Yeah.
I was living in Las Vegas for this also. I was probably 24 or 25. I could easily go back and check. And I was covering what was billed as the world's biggest collection of Hall of Famers. And it was a national sports card show at the Tropicana Convention Center down there in Vegas. And it was, I think, 60 Hall of Famers from the big four sports plus Muhammad Ali. And so I'm there and I'm covering it and I'm interviewing and I'm seeing there's so much Ali stuff for sale because he's going to be signing. And the Neil Leifer photo of him standing over Sonny Liston, with the glove up, and it was licensed, which is a photo you don't see all the time. Sometimes it's a knockoff or a frame early. And Ali's about to sign in a half hour and there's all this stuff. And I was like, I got to get it. I got to get something. And so cool moment. I bought the photo. It's a 16 by 20. I said, I'm gonna get a big one.
How much?
$80.
Okay.
Because this is the 90s. Obviously it's worth way more now, but I paid $80 and I felt like, I don't know, I felt obligated. And that's the pull of Ali too. There's something about the guy and that's why there's a document. Right. Ken Burns just did a documentary and there's been multiple movies made of the guy. So I'm standing in line and I'm just going to get the thing signed and I'm going to take it home. And I made friends with somebody in line. You're just chatting, waiting for him to sign. So he goes to sign. And I guess everybody who went before me just didn't say anything to him or whatever. And he had Parkinson's pretty bad. And it was like, maybe everybody was uneasy. And I said, I said something like, it's a real pleasure to meet you or something like that. Just a thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And he pushes away from his table and he stands up and he gives me the,
no shit.
And he goes under the chin and he was doing it just for the sake of, there were no cameras around.
Yeah.
Turns out that the guy in line behind me took a picture of it. So I have a picture of Ali doing that. And so anyway, that's my moment. That's the last time I
went
out and got ask for an autograph.
By the way, I like the, I find myself, and maybe this was less of an opportunity when we were younger or something. As much as I hate that every athlete and celebrity has to get asked to take a picture, I love the picture way more than the autograph now. And I think everybody probably does. And not even from a social media standpoint, just but I got to imagine it's got to be so painful on these athletes. But that's great because that was like a candid moment. The candid picture is the best one too.
Yeah.
You know what I heard? You know what I heard Taylor Swift does at a concert? Actually, he told me this was Stacey James, the PR guy for the Patriots. Told me he went to a Taylor Swift concert with his daughter, and Taylor came up to his daughter and preemptively, knowing, that everybody wants a picture with her, went up and said to the daughter and to many other girls, wasn't like she was treating her special, said, "Would you please take a picture with me?" Taylor said that to the girl, which, by the way, what a gangster move that is, like that's kind of what Ollie, that's kind of what Ollie did for you, basically.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't ask for an interaction, but I think the way when I look back on it, because he didn't speak, and he had his good days and his bad days during the 90s, so he could still speak, but maybe didn't want to, or it was too problematic.
Yeah.
I think he felt he needed to communicate with me in some way and couldn't say thank you or pleasure to meet you or whatever.
That's
so that was his way.
That's a moment for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. I don't know what else I got. Animal House.
Do we want to explain that, or is that better left unexplained?
That's
It's one of the
hard.
great running gags on social media.
I don't mind explaining it, but because it doesn't change anything.
You're right, because no who's going to be listening. It's not like
they just don't. It doesn't matter. I can do it. So the deal is, on social media for probably about 15 years now. Probably when I was first on Twitter, I think I did it one time. It was the first time I realized that trolls existed. And I said, very seriously, was it over? Obviously not seriously, you know what I mean? Quoting the movie, when there's a big blowout game, I tweeted, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? And I got attacked. Probably wrong choice of words. I mean, all these people came at me on Twitter like, you're an idiot, you asshole. The Germans didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. Japan did. What a moron. Stick to sports writing. Coming at me. And I was like, I started to feel almost like I was wrong, it's funny because now foreshadow to this like cancel culture. Like I was like, oh my God, do I need to apologize? I was wrong. And then all of a sudden I realized, no, these are the assholes that never seen Animal House and didn't know the line. So I started to do it more. But as I did it in the future, I realized that most people have seen Animal House, and it's very few. And this is what we have to remember about social media. This is a very simple, stupid joke, but there actually is a lot of societal nuance to it, which is we so often bring attention to the loud people, as John Elway calls them, the morons with the megaphones, that we forget that most people who don't comment are probably pretty, they probably agree with you. And there's hundreds of thousands of those people, but then you get the few. So what I did was I would deliberately do this knowing I was going to get attacked and then not say anything and just retweet the people who would come at me and call me an idiot, because then what would happen is the other masses would come after them and attack them for being the idiot. And it would turn into just chaos on Twitter every single time I do it. At the end of the exercise, I never explain it. To this day, I don't explain it. I don't say anything about it. But I do DM all of the people that I retweet and say, I'd like to send you a copy of Animal House to watch. I do this for two reasons. One, to spread the great culture that is Animal House and help them better understand the quote, but also because generally speaking, the people who come at you on Twitter are also willing to hunt down your family and kill you. So I felt this is a nice gesture to try to get them off my back. The best of them all, though, Tim, is I find lately that I'll do it and people will attack me and I'll retweet them. And then I have these other people who will say, you guys, give him a break. He's a sports reporter. He doesn't know better.
Come on, man.
So anyway, that's why this is back here. That's my Animal House story.
This guy he needed extra time to take his tests and stuff when he was in school. He was getting into journalism.
It never gets old. It's such a wonderful joke.
Maybe we'll talk about football. Maybe we won't. Here's some other things I want to talk about, Jeff. I'm going to do it right here I'm going to do it live. I went to your, to make sure that I had everything in your bio correct. I went to the ESPN press room bio, but in Googling that, I type in Jeff Darlington, and the things that it finished with are, the Google where it does the smart search. Number one is Jeff Darlington's salary.
Which that's a scare. My mom called me one time, was like, "You make $60,000 a year?" And I was like, it's like, I don't know where they get the numbers from.
I like when people try to taunt me on Twitter by telling me how much I make.
Yeah.
Because they pulled a number on what the average journalist makes. You make $43,000 a year. Suck it.
The other one that always comes up, I should probably say, is Jeff Darlington's wife, which comes
that's
up
next. Yeah, that's number 2.
My wife is always like, why are people Googling that? But that's also the same thing as salary. It's like this aggregated weird thing that some algorithm.
That's got to be flattering, though. That means people are checking on it.
I don't think that's true. I think it's some kind of algorithm. I don't think that that's the case.
Jeff Darlington Twitter is 3rd. Yeah. That's common sense. All right. I
think those 3 are all common sense.
Jeff Darlington house,
also kind of weird.
Weird isn't doing it justice. I think that's. I have my house blurred out on Google Maps. I'm off all the lists and stuff.
I don't know if that's because like my background. I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe people see it and they're like, "Where does he live?"
Oh, that's true. That is pretty back there. Jeff Darlington spinning.
Yeah.
Jeff Darlington Emmy, which is also right behind you. That's pretty cool.
This is why the spinning thing.
Jeff, what?
This is why this is Jeff Darlington.
Oh, that. Okay, right. I've seen that. I'm thinking bicycle. Yeah, you're right. That's that thing you do.
I can
you spin your Emmy?
No, I can't. It doesn't have centrifugal force.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Jeff Darlington home, same sentiment as the house. Jeff Darlington, Tom Brady, Jeff Darlington college. So that's a good snapshot there of things, of what people are interested about Jeff Darlington.
That is funny. Spinning is ahead of Tom Brady.
Way ahead. And no Antonio Brown, although that falls under Emmy. Did you ever think you were going to win an Emmy? I mean, come on. I mean, what's that like?
We're writers, Tim.
Right.
We're not in the Emmy. We're not.
What about this? What do you think about this trophy?
That's a hell of a trophy.
Fantasy.
What is that?
Celebrity fantasy football.
Come on.
For the local Morning Zoo radio station.
That's great.
And it's made out of steel. I don't know if you can hear it, but
I like the idea, if you're going to have a trophy for something, that you just go gaudy and big.
It's obnoxious.
That's
why
great,
it's there. I'm not there because I'm so proud of it. It's great It's great 100%. Decoration. It fills this space. I have this big white space. I needed something that went vertical.
100%. Like, I was disappointed. This is going to sound like this is not intended to be I'm pretty transparent about my vanity. So this is not
right?
intended to be like a humble brag. I'm just trying to point something out. I was disappointed. So this is a plaque that I got for being University of Florida's 40 under 40. And
it's a great honor.
Great honor. And it's actually a very nice plaque. But the problem is, like, I wanted something gaudy to put in my background. Like the Emmy is like like it's great.
Yes.
It's gaudy. But this was like, so it's like, you gotta get back there. Like we want flamboyant shit behind us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the Emmy, no, but to your point, no, I never. But the funny thing is about an Emmy, it's, first of all, what you find is that what you think you're going to get an award for, you don't, and what you don't think you're going to get an award for, you do. It feels very arbitrary, and kind of, I don't know. I'm not really. I mean, it sounds, again, I'm not trying to be like humble, or because I'm not, but I'm not really like an awards guy. Like, I don't really give a shit. I like the Emmy. I love it. I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud of the stories that I did to get it, but I don't, like, who gives a shit? It's all such a stupid game.
I hear you. I used to really care about the best American sports writing. And
that's that's a good one. I mean,
I wanted to get in the back of the book. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to see that I was in the back of the book.
This one? Like these editions?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, well, that one's newspaper though, right? But there's a sports one.
Newspaper. Yeah.
Best American sports writing. And I stopped submitting my stuff. I had stuff that I thought, this has to get in. All I wanted was an honorable mention.
Right. I think I got it.
And then One year I get into the front of the book.
That one.
Right.
Oh, really?
Exactly right. I got in the book. I was the whole story. I was published. I was one of the like 12 or 15 stories of the year, and I didn't submit it. A friend of mine submitted it for me.
What was it? I remember this actually.
It was a Daryl Talley story.
So that is interesting, but also
and I didn't submit it. Which was cool, which made it feel even better that somebody felt this has to be submitted.
By the way, I'm getting too old. I just tried to stretch back there and hurt my back. Yeah, but I think that's part of the reason why I'm disenchanted by awards too, because generally speaking, like I don't really believe in like submitting, like who wants to submit themselves? Generally speaking, the people who I think get rewarded the most are often the people with the least shame. Like you're willing to really put yourself out there. Right. Like, I mean, like would I love for people to submit my shit for awards? Yeah, obviously we all want that, but I'm not going to, canvas the world to, and like at ESPN, when it comes to like Emmys, it's also really difficult to get out of the building. What that means is like, they decide who they're going to nominate and put forth. So you're kind of like going through stages, and sometimes it feels kind of political and weird, and I don't know. But I'm very proud of it.
Right.
And
no, it's that way at the Athletic because you only get X number of submissions.
That's right.
And if everybody submitted, then they'd have, thousands.
Yeah.
So the Athletic picks it's whatever. The Buffalo News did the same thing. So that, I feel,
but it's cool.
They
cool.
let them pick.
I think just from a storytelling, the story I'm most proud of, it did get nominated but didn't win, was one I did on Dak Prescott with this friend that he had who had no arms and paints. And I mean, you can never, whether I got the award or didn't, like you can never take the story away from me, which sounds cheesy, but that's what we do this for. Personally, that's what I do it for more than I do it to be this guy, Dick Schaap, writing about Bo Jackson, something that people treasure. This book defines our childhood. Like that to me is more important than the award up here.
Yeah. Dick Schaap probably didn't win an award for Bo Knows Bo.
Probably not. But I guarantee that our generation, treasures that more than the stuff that he probably did win awards for.
So let's talk about 2021 football.
Yeah, man.
What were your thoughts on those Bills on Sunday? Obviously 35-0, 5 touchdown victory, very impressive, but it's been the storyline all week. What's wrong with Josh Allen?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I talked to Josh after the game, and the thing that resonated the most with me is that he was very aware of that. Like he said, it's actually a really good feeling when you win a game 35-0 and feel like you left a lot to be desired. So, and it's a great point. People want to give Urban Meyer shit right now for saying that every week in the NFL is like playing Alabama. Well, because it is. It's so hard to win. And to thump a team like that, yes, it probably says more about the Dolphins than it does about the Bills. But man, it's the NFL, and not to sound cliche, but if you get a 35-0 win, like you run with it. The Bills are going to figure it out. I don't have any concern about whether the Bills are going to figure it out. They will. If it takes them a few weeks to get there, they will.
It's a great safety net to have when your defense is playing so dominantly.
So well. Yeah.
And it allows your quarterback to find his legs or get his whatever equilibrium or rhythm or whatever you want to say, or readjust to the defensive adjustments that are being made to try to keep him under wraps.
Yeah. I mean, that was a bad first half. I was talking to somebody with the team. It was like, man, I haven't seen Josh play that bad in a half. And it was like, but it was after the game, and it was like this feeling of like, yeah, but then the second half, he got the momentum on that first drive. And so you do what you got to do, man. You know how many seasons that Tom Brady started off lackluster where we're saying, what's going on with Tom Brady? Guess what happened next?
Right. Going back 10 years, you can probably say that, well, you know what, it's run its course.
2018, he started the season 1 and 2, got thumped by the Jaguars and the Lions. That season, they won the Super Bowl. So week 1, don't matter.
No, or even after 2 weeks, it seems way too early. And there's something about the 17th game. Yeah. I don't know why, but it seems like the season's a lot longer, even though it's just one game, doesn't it? It seems like they've added 5 games. And you're like, well, We got
There
some
is
time
probably-
to stretch our legs here.
You know what though? There is probably, and it's not a lot to your, it's only one game, but there is probably something to say because on the front end, you lose the preseason game too. And as much as people hate the preseason, teams do find, and as much as even at the end of the preseason, teams want it to be over, there's value in those extra games. And you might see a little more rust at the beginning of the year as a result.
What's your scouting report on Chargers Chiefs? Obviously,
Yeah, I'll be there.
Fans in Buffalo have their eyes on Kansas City and see a
As they
little bit of
should.
a stumble, or maybe
Actually, they should have their eyes on both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe Bills fans are supposed to be that much more concerned with Baltimore being better than they were last year.
I'm not as, and again, this goes right to the same conversation we were having. I was very surprised the Chiefs lost that game to Baltimore. But I don't think that's an indication of things to come, just as I would say, cooler heads with the Bills as well. And in fact, same as the Chargers losing to the Cowboys. These are all really good teams that are going to be there at the end. There's no question in my mind. I mean, I would say Chiefs, Bills, and honestly, even the Titans, who got off to a rocky start with week one, those three teams are, to me, the three best teams in the AFC.
You don't think it's Denver? It's not the 2-0 Denver Broncos.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not. Are you kidding? Because I'm not sold.
I am
okay,
kidding.
You're kidding. Okay,
I am kidding. Yes.
Yeah, like that. But that's. I mean, I get. So it is important to get wins early in the season. You don't want to start in a hole, but it's totally fine to not look great doing so. And by the way, back to the point about, I don't think Baltimore has sustainability with the backfield and the injuries that they endured already. Lamar having to do it all on his own. I love Lamar Jackson. I love watching him. I don't know how that team can sustain what they're going to have to do all season. And the Chiefs have that sustainability. The Bills do. The Chargers, we'll see. I want to see more from them. But, as long as the Bills can win the division, which I know shouldn't ever sound easy, I think that they will handily win the division. Then you're just talking about seeding, which if you're not the number one, doesn't really matter.
The Dolphins sure felt like the closest competition heading into the season, even after that game, the final game last year in which the Bills won by 30.
Yeah.
Was it 30? It was 30. I think it was 56-26.
Yeah.
And so now they've won their past two games by a combined 65 points.
Right.
And the team was tweaked and, adjusted and whatever Brian Flores wanted to do and had them just right and ready to go, you'd like to think. And they still get just totally annihilated.
Yeah.
It seems as though now in the AFC East, we're back to, if there is going to be a challenger, maybe it's New England, who happened to get beat by Miami on.
Right. And I think that's why it's so twisted what happens below the Bills there. I'm not as convinced that New England, you just put Mac Jones in and suddenly they're the dynasty again.
It should be noted, though. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, though, Jeff, that they don't play the Patriots. The Bills don't play the Patriots until December. Both games are December. There's December 6th and then December 26th. Mac Jones, maybe there's two ways you can look at it. He's gotten that much more experience by then, but also you're talking about rookies in the second half of the season, that wall that they hit. They're not used to having to eat, live, and breathe football. There are no classes. Everything is just football. I mean, who knows what mental state Mac Jones is going to be in come the holidays.
Yeah, I think it's tricky with Mac because there is this, and people can say they don't feel like they aren't trying to compare him to Tom Brady, but if Mac Jones was in any other place, I don't think that we would be heightening our expectations to the degree that we are right now with him in New England. So, he's been excellent as a rookie. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think through the rookies after Zach Wilson's performance this week. I think Mac Jones is clearly the best rookie right now, but the Bills are just a better team, and I don't think there's much you can do to convince me otherwise. I mean, look, I'm not a big guy to say, well, this team beat this team, so this team's better than this team. But it's hard to ignore the fact that the Dolphins, the team that the Bills just beat 35-0, beat the Patriots the week before. That I can't not take that into account when you're assessing the AFC East.
Right. And let's not leave out the Jets.
Yeah,
no,
but
let's go ahead and leave out the. Let's leave out the.
I was gonna say, let's go leave out the Jets.
You were trying to give me a serious analysis, like
I wasn't. No. I was literally going to tell you. I don't think we should do that.
No.
I don't.
Let's
even
talk
know...
more about Michael Jackson's bathroom habits.
Yeah, but it's funny because I don't even feel like I know enough about the Jets anyway. I know that people want to care about them, but
they're an afterthought until proven otherwise, with the exception of their quarterback.
And so too are the Dolphins now. And I think that is a shell shock to the organization, and from the standpoint that last year they really, coming into this year, because of the margin of defeat that they had last year, they really looked at the one Bills game as the only time they got blown out, that their point differential was such that they were going to be good this year. That when you look back, most teams that are on the cusp of being good, including the Bills, they have a season before where maybe the record isn't awesome, but all the games are super close. And as a result, the Dolphins thought this was going to be a year, and maybe it's early. Maybe the Bills are just that they just have the Dolphins number, but that was not a great indication of things to come.
Well, Jeff, this has been a hoot. Very nice of you to carve out some time.
Yeah, no problem.
From your morning.
A pleasure. Tim, you're, I don't know if people know this. I always tell you the story, but when Tim was on the Dolphins beat, every day was such a pain in the ass. I was like coasting for a couple years, and then Tim got hired, and you were on the beat for like 6 months. It was like nothing, right?
6 or 7 months, right? But it was those 7 months left scars on me.
Yeah,
and
we had some.
Maybe let's quickly talk about that. Not us competing, but that season. So I leave a National Hockey League beat in a one-paper town.
What was the season?
This was 2007 when the Dolphins went 1-15. So I'm intimidated. I go down to a major market that has multiple newspapers, multiple sports radio stations, 2 full sets of TV stations, everything. And this team's hasn't won a game yet. With the backdrop of the Patriots running the table and looking to take away the glory of the 72 Dolphins. You have Ricky Williams coming back from a suspension and gets hurt in his first game back. You have Zach Thomas getting a season-ending concussion and a fender bender outside the stadium.
Holy shit, driving back.
You have Cam Cameron getting fired. Randy Mueller getting fired. And so you have a head coaching search and a GM search. Bill Parcells comes in. Wayne Huizenga sells the team.
Yep.
Jason Taylor and Dancing with the Stars.
Was that all the time that you were there? This all happened?
This is just while I'm at the Palm Beach Post covering the Dolphins. This was, Dude, Cleo Lemon and John Beck and Trent Green. And, they had, I think, 4 different starting quarterbacks that season.
It never stopped.
It was a trial by fire. And it was, as Mark Gahn at the Buffalo News says, you can cover football for another 15 years and not accumulate as much as you had to do in those 6 months.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to keep my head above water.
I mean, so that was 2007. I got on the beat in 2005. So think about this. My first day on that beat with the Palm Beach Post, because then I went to the Miami Herald and you came down in Palm Beach Post. The first day on the beat was Ricky Williams coming out of retirement, showing up completely skinny, right out of the tent with the beard and everything.
Right.
To Nick Saban saying, I am not going to be the coach of Alabama. To Cam Cameron's hiring, to all the things that you just mentioned. I mean, it was insane. And then after that, Bill Parcells, Tony Sperano, Jeff Ireland and Parcells flying across the country to meet with Jim Harbaugh. It was unbelievable. That beat was so dramatic for so long that, like you said, though, I mean, that you really got to cut your teeth if you covered that beat at that point.
And you factor in the sale of the team.
That's right.
Which now in Buffalo, the way the structure would be on something like that, well, I guess I'm speaking out of turn. That's not quite true, but the sports writers, not the business writers, had to cover that. You didn't have, like we were covering that.
But that's the thing. That was the thing. Like, I mean, not to sound all glory days and everything, but the fun thing was like I remember me and you were going like boxing match. I mean, totally no animosity, but like we were throwing jabs. Like let's go. You broke something, I'd break. Like It was fun. But I remember with the owners thing. I remember cold calling Stephen Ross, who no one knew at the time. He was just some developer. I'd like heard his name thrown around, and I'd just call his office. This fucking billionaire. like I call his office and it rang. If you called after 5 o'clock, it would ring from his office to his house on top of it like forwarded the call.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And he picked it. He's like, hello. And I'm like, hey, Mr. Russ, this is Jeff Darlington with Miami Herald. I heard that you're going to buy the team. Dolphins. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, Wayne Huizenga. He's like, I don't even know who Wayne Huizenga is. Sure as shit. I was right on it, but I don't think I
have a confession to make about one of my most embarrassing moments as a journalist, which never, well, because you're a journalist, you catch these things, but sometimes it feels like how close I was to really embarrassing myself. George, there was a guy, a business partner, George Perez. So our researchers at the Palm Beach Post, and we're trying to find out George Perez, and we get George Perez's home phone number, and I call up George Perez, and I don't know who George Perez is. Maybe if I had covered business in South Florida, or I'd been there longer than 6 weeks or whatever the fuck it was.
But probably not.
Well, I'm calling George Perez, and George Perez doesn't speak English very well. So I'm talking to George Perez about the Dolphins and how much he loves his Dolphins. And he's excited and he seems obviously confused, but I'm a reporter catching him off guard. That happens all the time. Yeah. And hang up. And I called Nick Michella, our boss, and I said, I just got George Perez. All right, well, let's turn this around. And I start writing and something comes into my head where I'm like, I got to call him back. I need to, get this detail. So I call George Perez back, and we're having this dance again because he doesn't speak English very well. And I hang up the phone again and I start to write, and then something just creeps into my head. And I was like, this doesn't add up. This doesn't add up. So it wasn't the right George Perez. It was a different George Perez. And I look him up, and he's living in an apartment like in Liberty City or some shit. And I'm like, what? I almost filed this story saying George Perez. Oh shit! And it was just like, I had to call Nick back. And I'm like, I don't have George Perez.
Would the story?
And George Perez speaks fine English, but I didn't know that.
Was he a part of the ownership group?
He was rumored to be, like he was involved.
So he hadn't done it yet. Had Ross bought it?
Huizenga's still the owner of the team. We're trying to infiltrate this new ownership group.
Did Perez? I don't remember. Did Perez wind up going in on the ownership group? I
don't remember.
I feel like he did, but I can't remember. But if he had, my point is, if he had, you would have been right.
But it was the wrong George Perez.
Right, I know, but that's how stupid journalism is. People were like, well, he was right.
That's right.
Imagine George Perez waking up and
block out George Perez from my mind. I think it was like, I just blacked that out, and George Perez didn't exist. That's why I couldn't remember I had to ask you what his name was right there before I told the story. I was I was mortified.
Oh, you know what though, man? Like, at least you didn't do it.
Like, my instincts kicked in.
There's a lot of people.
There was a delay.
What a beat though. That was a fun time. That was a crazy beat.
All right, you got to go, man. I said we were going to do this for about a half hour. Here we are at an hour. We talked about football cards and Bo Jackson and Emmys and
man,
Dak Prescott and all kinds of stuff.
Anytime you get Ricky Williams
and a little bit
Jackson
of football
into the podcast, you're good.
All right.
Well, Jeff, Tim, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Jeff Darlington from ESPN, also from NFL Network previously, and of course the Miami Herald, which is how I got to meet Jeff. Very kind of you to do this.
Yeah, thanks, man.
In just a couple of seconds, we're going to get to Joel Staniszewski on the line from Vegas. He's going to give us his thoughts on Washington versus Buffalo Sunday afternoon at Highmark Stadium. But before we get to Joel, I want to remind everybody that Amherst Pizza and Ale House is the place to watch all the college and pro football games. It's there at 55 Cross Point Parkway in Gettsville, right off of Millersport Highway and the 990. It's easy to get to. Amherst Pizza and Ale House has a fleet of TVs, indoor and on the patio, recognized by ESPN.com as Western New York's top spot to watch sports. There's a lot of energy in that place, and it's where Jonah Bronstein and I go when we're done covering the games on Sundays. Stop in or call for takeout and delivery, 716-625-7100. Let me give it to you again, 716-625-7100. Amherst Pizza and Ale House. The financial needs of a business go beyond tax and attest services. That's why CTBK goes beyond accounting services and offers outsourced solutions through their affiliation
with CFO Solutions Plus. These additional services allow clients to focus on their operational and long-term strategic goals. Trust CTBK's outsourced solutions to provide cost-effective, value-added financial services tailored to your company's needs. Call CTBK at 716-630-2400. Again, 716-630-2400. Or go to ctbk.com to learn more about CTBK's outsourced solutions.
As promised, we're joined by Joel Staniszewski on the line from Vegas, although not in his home, obviously, but he is still in Las Vegas, I assume. I mean, unless you're out in like Pahrump or State Line or something like that, or Prim.
Definitely not. That's too far of a drive for me.
Okay. Joel Staniszewski giving us his thoughts on Washington at Buffalo before we get into his picks. And, well, we'll let Joel explain the picks so far this year, but it is that caveat. It is early and you don't really know what you're looking at for a little while. So I think we're going to expect to get some traction here.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before. I don't feel comfortable picking that early in the season. Of course, I have games that I like, and I personally bet them and told you to bet them. So we're all in the same boat here for in the negatives. But like I've said now, this is the third week in a row. Stay consistent. When you see a game you like, bet it. When you see a game you really like, you double down on it, like we're going to do this week. And you stay with your picks. You stay consistent. You don't bet outside of your means. You don't chase. You don't play scared. You just keep consistent. And I haven't steered anyone wrong yet. So let's get back on track, and we'll be making some money in no time.
Another reminder that Joel makes these bets himself. He does not just throw some bets your way. He actually puts his money on these same suggestions. So, your thoughts on Washington at Buffalo? On Sunday, it came out 9.5, and I got a lot of pushback from Bills fans. I was surprised, and I guess it's a healthy skepticism or something, but Bills fans were telling me that's too big. That number's too big. And now it's down to 7, or you can get it at 7.5 at one place I saw. But what was your thought on 9.5 when it came out?
I thought that line was too low. I almost bet it right away because I wanted to get it before it went to 10. And I waited and I thought, let me see where this goes. But I thought 9.5, 10, 10.5 was more the number that it should have been. So then when it came down to 7, when I looked at it again, it came down to 7.5. And I thought it was 7.5 even for the Bills. And I thought, if this keeps happening, this line's going to come down to 7. And I know the books didn't want to go down and start at 9.5 and go all the way down to 7. And they sure as hell won't go down to 6.5, no matter how much action they get. But I thought this number is wrong. It's just outright wrong. That number, you could argue that number could be almost double 7. And I know 14 is too much, but it's the number in my head is closer to 14 than it is to 7. So that's we're doubling down on our Buffalo Bills and taking it twice. So if you're $100 better, you're going to bet 200. You're going to bet to win 200 on this game.
Why does that happen, do you think? There's such a disparity in your feelings versus the book. And obviously the public's feelings are going the opposite direction. I guess, what do you make of that as an analyst when you see the numbers like that? Not necessarily this specific game, but when the public is going against your gut and the book started off against your gut.
Well, the public is the reason why we have billion-dollar casinos. So you don't get built serving up losers all the time. So those are one of those games that you wouldn't necessarily call it a trap game. You could, depending upon the schedule coming up and things of that sort. So maybe they're getting some extra play because of the extra time that they had off from playing on Thursday, and the same for next week too with Houston, which is a little bit strange that we're going back-to-back games against teams that have extra rest. But I feel like the only thing that would bother me would be our secondary is questionable, not only in their play, but also in their availability for Sunday. So if we're down Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson, we're in big trouble on the secondary. But our defensive front has been outstanding. And we've played our first 2 games against teams with really good secondaries. So Washington's secondary, I think, is pretty suspect. They gave up, 350 yards week 1 to the Chargers and 250 to Daniel Jones, plus like another 130 on the ground. So if we play like we did against Miami, I think we'll be fine. But I think us as Bills fans are still waiting on Josh Allen to kind of turn that corner and go back to 2020 Josh Allen, where he's throwing for 300 or 400 yards, rushing touchdowns. He played better week 2 than he did week 1. But again, he's playing against teams with really, really, really good secondaries. And Pittsburgh with a really good front 7. So we're playing against really good defenses. Now, Washington last year had a really good defense, and this year they are near the bottom. So they're going to be looking for their team's defense to rebound. We're going to be looking for our offense to kind of find their identity, which is the passing identity. But I feel like we're having such a strong push with our front 7 against a quarterback who's only won 1 game in his NFL career, who's a backup quarterback. So I don't know why that line is coming down, but as a bettor, I'm excited for it, and I'm glad I didn't bet it early. I'm glad I waited so I can get it at 7.
So does your confidence then come from your supposition that Josh Allen figures it out, or you think that even what you've seen out of the Bills so far is enough to win this game by as many as 2 touchdowns?
I think the Bills week 2 kind of got their bearings straight. I don't know if the preseason or the lack of preseason from most of our starters took a little bit for them to get their ass in gear or what it was, but by week 2, I feel like they've figured it out. And of course, I want the Bills to win every game, but we don't necessarily need them to be clicking on all cylinders week 1. We need them to be clicking on all cylinders to get to the playoffs and to play through the playoffs, not week 1. Look at the Steelers last year. They were clicking on all cylinders for the first 11 weeks, and then they fell on their face. I don't want the Bills to do that. I don't want them, whooping everybody for the first 10, 11 weeks of the season. I want them to be slowly building momentum, get their legs under them, get their players healthy and keep them healthy and kind of just it's not a sprint right now. We're in the marathon stage of the NFL season. So take your time. And I think we're going to get it squared away this week.
Parallelism between the Buffalo Bills and Joel Staniszewski's bets. Like you say, the marathon, not a sprint. You're finding your way here. Just to recap, Joel went 1-5-1 on opening day. Last week, 1-3. So his record for the year right now stands at 2-8-1. He got the under. The Bills under 48 last week. That was a win for him. Joel, still looking for that Josh Allen rhythm that for yourself. So we have the Bills. We're going to double up on the Bills -7. And what else you got?
Under. We're going to take that game under.
That is under 43, I believe.
I didn't know it came down that much. Last I looked, I saw it was at like 45 and a half.
Okay, bear with me here. Let me get the latest.
Yeah, get that fresh. Hit that refresh button.
We have 40. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. It was 41 and a half. That's opening, and who knows how far back that went. That could have been, a month ago. But 45 and a half, and that is across the board. So you can't find it for 46 or so 40 under 45 and a half.
Yep.
And what else?
Only other game. There's a couple of games that I was seeing that I was looking at that I kind of liked. But the only other game to bet on, in my opinion, is the Pittsburgh Steelers -3.
Steelers, you're going to give 3. And that game, just to give a full view on that, that is Cincinnati at Heinz Field. And the game is off the board at WinBet. Do you know why that is?
I am not sure. I don't
Understood.
Know. Could be adjusting it. It could be, I don't know. Maybe they have some inside information that we don't yet, but I got it yesterday at -3. So we're taking it at -3. Find it, shop around.
It's all over the place at -3. You can get it at BetMGM, at Caesars, at FanDuel, everywhere. There's a blank square there for WinBet. So -3. To recap, Bills -7, double up on that one. Whatever you normally bet is what Joel is suggesting. Go under 45.5 against Washington, and then the Steelers -3. Go ahead and give Cincinnati those 3 points in Pittsburgh. Joel, thanks for doing this as always.
Yeah, thank you.
And let's see if we can get on a heater here.
Yeah, let's get some heat going. Let's get on a little win streak. Let's get us back into the positives, and let's go. Oh, I'm going to go back again. What we talked about last week. I bet the Giants on Thursday, but I didn't say it because we didn't talk on Friday. So we're not saying that. But if you were in my brain, once these 4 bets, because you're betting the Bills twice, these 4 bets, these 4 increments hit, all 4 hit, you'll be back into the positives. So if you didn't bet the Giants, then you're still in the negatives. But if you keep going, we're going to make it into the positives, and we're going to get into the big pluses.
You said that there were games you like but didn't want to give. Do you want to give the unofficial, or do you want to stay away from doing that?
No, I don't want to go into unofficial. I mean, I like the Chiefs. Kind of like the Packers plus money. But then the more I thought about it, the more I'm a little bit leery on betting the Packers right now till they get some consistency, kind of like the Bills. But I think we're just going to go with the ones that we think are locks right now.
Joel Staniszewski on the line from Vegas. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you. Take care.